I have 7 o'clock, and I'd like to call the April 5th, 2021 meeting of the Person County Board of Commissioners to order at this time. I'll lead us in an invocation, and I'll ask Vice Chairman per year to lead us in a pledge. If you desire, please pray with me. Merciful God and Heavenly Father, we assemble here tonight to conduct the business of this county. Pray that you will be with us in our decisions, and may those decisions be in accordance with your will. Lead, guide, and direct us. We do humbly pray. In thy Son's holy name. Amen.
Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any discussion, adjustment, or approval of the agenda?
Was add, would that go in now? No. Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, I'd like to add me to comment on the EDC at the end. Last action item.
So that'd be on number 10, Madam Clerk. Is that all right? Okay. Yes, sir.
Question again.
He added an item to the agenda, item number 10.
What was your question?
Was it number 10?
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
because we got 9 there, so I want to make sure we were right with Madam Clerk. All right. What's the pleasure of the board with the addition? Have a motion for approval.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Motion carried. Number 1 on the agenda is a pleasurable one, a resolution of appreciation for county retiree, and that person being Henrietta Moore. Ms. Moore, could you come up to the podium, please? With all this COVID arrangement.
Right here?
Yeah, that'll be great. Right, you're on center stage.
Okay.
So we kind of discombobulated a little bit, but I do want to read this resolution of appreciation. Whereas Henrietta Moore has served the people of Person County during her tenure as an administrative assistant in the Environmental Health Department, and whereas Henrietta Moore has served the citizens of Person County with honor, integrity, sincerity, dedication, providing accurate, concise services for 35 years, June 1986, March 2021. And whereas Henrietta Moore has earned the respect and admiration of all who have known her and worked with her throughout her career, and whereas the County of Person recognizes the many contributions Henrietta Moore has made to the county and offers her sincere best wishes for her retirement. Now, therefore, I, Gordon Powell, Chairman of the Person County Board of Commissioners, do hereby extend this resolution of appreciation to Henrietta Moore for continually striving to make Roxborough and Person County a better place to live and work. Adopted this 5th day of April, 2021, signed by Gordon Powell, Chairman of the Person County Board of Commissioners. Frameable on the wall.
Thank everybody. I've enjoyed working with the county all those years and all the public that I've worked with. I've enjoyed it. And it was kind of hard to leave, but got to go sometime. We got to go travel a little bit now before we get too old. So, thank all y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Second item on the agenda is proclamation for the Week of the Young Child. We do have another proclamation here. Proclamation by Person County Board of Commissioners on the week of the young child. Whereas the Person County Partnership for Children and other local organizations, in conjunction with National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the Week of the Young Child, April 10th through the 16th, 2021. And whereas by calling attention to the need for high-quality early childhood services for all children and families within our community and state. These groups hope to improve the quality and availability of such services. And whereas the future of Person County depends on the quality of early childhood experiences provided to young children today. Now therefore, the Person County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the week of April 10th through the 16th, 2021 as the Week of the Young Child in Person County, and urge all citizens to recognize and support the needs of young children in Person County. Adopted this 5th day of April 2021, signed by Gordon Powell, Chairman of Person County Board of Commissioners.
Kelly Fody, the executive director, is joining us via Zoom, but if you'll leave that with us, we'll get it to her tomorrow.
Okay, well, Kelly, we'll zoom it to you.
Thank you.
Some way, somehow. Item number 3 on the agenda is public hearing. Have a motion to go into a public hearing for to consider the text amendment to the ordinances regulating, addressing, and road naming in Person County.
So moved.
Motion to go into a public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried. Okay, Ms. Vaughn?
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight, I bring before you a text amendment. I have removed a section of the addressing ordinance which references road sign fees to reflect our current practices. Would also propose to, when renaming a road, public or private, the percentage of property owners who must be in agreement about the road be decreased from 75% to 66%. And also a text amendment to remove some duplicate terminology and standardized language throughout. If you've read it, the words street, road, and roadway are used interchangeably, and we've attempted to shore that up. I'll be happy to take any questions.
What caused the 75% to go one? Is there a push or from the reason between 66 and 75? Just curious.
With a 75% requirement, and only 3 property owners, all 3 property owners must be in agreement. The 66% allows for 2 of the 3 property owners to be in
So that's
agreement.
neighborhood size. Okay, that
Correct.
makes sense.
And this is strictly for renaming roads. This is not new roads or proposed roads in existing areas. This is just when a road is requested to be renamed, which is extremely rare.
There was no one to sign up to speak for this public hearing, either in favor or in opposition to.
Any questions? Tom? Okay, we need a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Motion to go out of public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? None. Motion carried. And item number 4 is consideration to amend the ordinance regulating addressing and road naming in Person County. Is the desire of the board.
Move for approval.
Motion to approve as presented. Further comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Well done. This time, during the board meetings, we do have a period of full public comment, for set aside 10-minute segment, or a segment which is open for informal comment and or questions from citizens of this county on the issues other than those issues for which public hearing has been scheduled. Time will be divided equally among those wishing to comment. It is requested that any person who wishes to address the board register with the clerk to the board prior to the meeting. Clerk, do you have any?
No, sir, there were no signups this evening.
Okay, item number 5, discussion, adjustment, and approval of the consent agenda. As you all have.
Make a motion to approve.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. New business, item number 6, update on public-private partnership solicitation process for speculative shell building and continued development process. Yes, I'm sorry, Ms. Weber.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. At your January 19th meeting, I provided an update to you on the public-private partnership solicitation process for the proposed speculative building at the North Park site. I outlined the next steps as advertising the solicitation through February, taking the month of March to review the proposals and to do any financial modeling, with an update to you at this meeting. I had conversations with several development firms who acknowledged the opportunity, but also had other projects in the works. We did receive 2 proposals. However, neither one of them matched our request in some key parameters. The solicitation encouraged creativity to achieve the goal of constructing a speculative building on the North Park site, provided that a definitive local investment amount could be ascertained. The details of the proposals are to be kept confidential until there is an award. However, to help you understand why we're still in the negotiation and modeling phase going into April, one of the proposals was more or less a build to suit model. So it didn't meet the constructing a speculative building parameter, and the other had an open-ended lease agreement that did not allow us to ascertain a definitive local investment amount. So in order to minimize the local risk and do some apples to apples in our counter proposals, we're working with the School of Government's Development Finance team to evaluate the comparisons in relation to each other, to the market, and to what the county could do to do the project on its own. In the meantime, we've continued the development. We got the Army Corps permit for the stream crossing at the entrance. On April 1st, we got approval for the erosion and sedimentation control plan, and we are expecting the driveway permit any day. So from here, we anticipate having the counter proposals presented, having options ready for the EDC to review at their April 27th meeting, with a recommendation to you at May 3rd meeting. Any questions?
Okay, questions, Ms. Weber?
Okay, I think I'm up next. Thank you.
Who's up again?
Yeah. Checking over, writing down times. Item number 7, be transfer of economic development funds.
This is more or less a housekeeping item, and the agenda abstract says it all. As part of this year's budget process, or the 2021 budget process, the commissioners allotted discretionary funds for the Economic Development Commission. Those have been allocated to the ED department contracted services line, and we have to track those separately. And so I had just made a request to the finance director that we could go ahead and transfer those over to their own line item in the Economic Catalyst Fund. And so she will actually bring the action to you at the next meeting for you to approve that as a budget amendment. But I did just want to come and offer that explanation in case you see why are these EDC funds moving around. And that would be a one-time transfer in the amount of $296,533.
Okay, so the Catalyst Fund was set up, what, a year ago? Or a
No,
year
we've
and-
had it a number of years, over 10, maybe over 12 years at least. It's been primarily used to pay incentives. But what we like about using that, this particular fund for this purpose is that the balance of any unused money can carry forward year after year without doing a budget amendment or a transfer that Amy would bring in the summertime.
Okay,
So it can build up over time, which has kind of been something that EDC members have advocated for, is that they could start building up a reserve fund.
reserve fund.
to
So is it
use.
funded annually the same amount? Or is it like the amount you just asked for? That's not what's in there now, correct?
Well, the amount that Sherry is asking to transfer over the last, I would say 2 years, plus or minus, the board during the budget work sessions has allocated an additional amount of money to support the efforts of the EDC. There was an unrestricted use of those funds, and we had parked them in the contract services line, but they were not tied to a specific contract. They were to be used to support the mega site and other economic endeavors as the EDC had wanted. So a more appropriate holding place for them would be the Economic Catalyst Fund, because the way that we do the operating funds is through a zero-based budget, so that we're able to tell you what every amount is tied to, what it's used for, what the contract is. But in this case, these last 2 years, when the commissioners have given an unpredicted amount, it was 250 one year, it was something else another year, there was not a specific purpose for them. So by putting them in the Catalyst Fund, that's really a more appropriate use for them, and also makes our auditors a little happier with the placement of those funds as well.
Because it's a line item, the separate line item? Is that-
Because it's a separate line item, and because it's not, there's not a specific use for those funds.
So we have them in contracted services without a contract. So usually
Right.
they want to see a contract, and those are discretionary funds.
Right. That's the discretionary funds that you hear being talked about. That has just become, at the end of a budget work session,
They're just.
we want to
everywhere
give
in
more
the
money
air.
to
Yeah.
EDC. How can we do that? And that's kind of so we're formalizing a placeholder for those funds in the hopes that the board would continue to allocate, or if the board chooses to, now we have a more appropriate line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to follow up on Commissioner Gentry's question on line item.
Yep.
So it's being used as undesignated funds,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
And the Catalyst, that has its own separate, did you say it's more than a line item?
It's its own fund outside of the general fund.
And that includes any type of government transfers as well as, or is this just solid money that is put aside?
The other line items in that fund that I can think of off the top of my head are specifically tied to economic development incentive agreements. I think Spuntech's in there, GKN,
Hollywood.
Hollywood, yeah. I think we had a piece of the fiber project in there as well. I can't recall for certain. I don't have the budget in front of me, but I can pull it up. So this would just be a new line within that fund, outside of the general fund, in the Economic Catalyst Fund. And what are we calling it?
Economic incentives.
Okay, economic incentives.
So it's economic incentives that has not been designated, but separate from a line item for our committed funds.
Yes, separate from any sort of incentive agreement that the board would have approved.
Now, who has authorization to access it? Is that money that PCPIC would have access to, or is that?
They would not. No, just the county EDC director.
So if the EDC approved a contract, they wanted to do clearing at the North Park site, that was one thing that we had last year. I would put in the check request from that line item instead of our contracted services line.
But it still comes back to us. We would be the designated party to approve the transfer.
Correct.
Whatever source we decided to go to.
And the auditors feel more comfortable with this because it's clear as to where the, I mean, I'm trying to get understanding here. It's clear where the
Yeah,
money sits.
I'll ask Amy to explain the perspective of the auditors, but right now where we're housing it, because it's undesignated, it's not really a good fit in our contracted services line, because I was trying to explain that each appropriation in that line is tied to a specific contract.
We don't have a contract necessarily for these funds. and
We
so
do not.
You want to pull them separate so that you don't have to fall under that accounting rule. Gotcha.
Yeah. Do you have anything, Amy, you'd like to offer?
The other reason is that it does make it easier that it's in its own fund, that we can track and keep the money flowing into there for that purpose, rather than you having to do that manually every year and take it from an annually budgeted fund and put it into this fund. You know, it's really, we're getting it there, but it's harder to do it the way that we're doing now. This way, we keep it in that.
A lot cleaner sounding.
Yes.
Okay, it's
Yes.
cleaner. Good.
Less back and forth.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, number 8, Economic Development Task Force appointment. Mr. Gentry.
Yes, we had the replacement on the task force. Randy King is going to be sitting in. Sharon Holler at the last minute just said she could not participate even though she wanted to. So I asked Randy if he would be interested, and he said he would. And so he's sitting in there. Randy is a former member of the EDC board. He's the former owner of ESI Computers, Networking Solutions, and he's a contractor with Duke Power, and a resident here, lives out at Hyco Lake. So he's participating in the task force now.
Questions, Mr. Gentry? What's the pleasure of the board? We do have, that does require a vote, doesn't it? See what, okay.
Previously appointed, it's Holler,
Right.
so now you're making a new appointment for her seat.
Do we have a motion?
Make the motion
Okay.
that we accept the new member.
We have, any other comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carried. Item number 9, recommended capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2022 and 2026.
Good evening, Commissioners. You'll find at your seats a hard copy of the recommended capital improvement plan. I'm going to walk through some of the highlights because it's difficult to display for those who are viewing this live. So I will go through some highlights of this. Let me explain what this is. This is your capital improvement plan, which is really a tool for implementing large-scale projects. Anything that costs upwards of $50,000 is considered eligible to be funded through the capital improvement plan. We fund projects for county facilities, for the community college, and for Person County schools through this document. We introduce it at this juncture because it really paves the way for the recommended budget, which is coming to you in May, providing an estimate of funding for capital, but it also has impacts to the operating budget as well. So that's why we do it ahead of your operating budget. Capital projects that you'll find in here span the next 5 years, but the board is only committing to funding 1 year at a time, and that would be your upcoming fiscal year 22. I wanted to remind you that your current CIP was put on hold with no major new investments made for capital expenses. We had just 2 projects for PCC, 1 project for Person County schools, and our total expenses for capital in your current year were about $535,000, which is well below the county's annual average appropriation for capital. So the spending that's proposed for your upcoming fiscal year is proposed at a significant increase because we're playing catch up with critical needs. The intention in our current year was that we were going to delay funding CIP projects because we were working on our debt model, with our consultants. And as we all know, COVID-19 hit us, and then a cyber security event hit us, and we lost our financial data to build that model for several months. So we've gotten back on our feet with that, and I'm pleased to say that your debt model will be presented at your next commissioner meeting. So at our next meeting, we'll be able to run different debt financing scenarios for you, and then look at the impact of what it would take on your tax rate to support those different financing amounts. So that is coming, and therefore I am not asking you to approve this CIP tonight. It's just for informational purposes. We had planned to have you adopt it at your next meeting, but we want to give you time to work with the debt consultants, look at the various scenarios, and then I will bring this back to you at your May meeting. And that is, I think, May 3rd. I'll bring this CIP document back for adoption at that point. So let me kind of acquaint you with the document and give you some highlights. And I have Amy Warenberg here, our finance director, who can help me answer any questions that you have. So if you'll turn with me on page 4, that is a list of criteria that staff uses to evaluate any of the requests we get for projects. So we're looking at a number of criteria, whether it's mandated, whether there's a safety need, the timing, the economic impact, all sorts of different criteria are used when we're trying to plan which projects to fund and the timing for those. And then on the next page 5 and 6, you'll see a list of recently completed capital projects, as well as a list of ongoing projects, current projects. And of course, we know that our 2 largest projects include the fiber installation at $3.1 million, which is expected to be completed by the end of June this year, and the airport hangar construction project for $4.6 million, which is anticipated for completion in April of 2022. I'm turning the page then. The projects that we're recommending for your upcoming CIP then are found on pages 7 and 8, as well as a column that explains the justifications for their funding and then the timing for the implementation. I know it's a lot to digest, and you will be able to look at this over the coming weeks and ask us any questions that you might have. So if you'll turn with me then to pages 10 and 11, this is the capital improvement grid that we spend the bulk of our time looking at. And you'll find on here the source of revenue for this CIP is only the general fund contribution. So there are no planned financings right now in terms of the revenue that you would need. Some of the project highlights on here include a new roof for Helena Gym. That's at $253,000. Some ADA resurfacing for some of our parks. Then page 11 has the college, the Piedmont Community College projects. The largest one there are some environmental controls for their buildings at $325,000. And then just below that, you'll see the project cost for the public schools. So this is just their capital improvement plan allocation. What we'll be talking about with the debt model are those sort of ongoing maintenance needs that are totaling $40 million. This is much smaller than that. So these are just some chiller, heat pump replacements, some HVAC unit replacements, and 2 roofs for both Oak Lane and South Elementary included in that. So the total recommended CIP appropriation from the general fund is $2.46 million. We're asking for in the coming budget. I'm going to skip over to page 14. I just wanted to point out the pie chart that is on there, and you can see that over half of our, or about half of our projects within the CIP go to support Person County schools. So that's really where the bulk of your funding is going. And then the last part of our CIP is a very important part, and that is a debt analysis. And so you'll see spanning pages 16 through 19, The outstanding debt service that the county is currently carrying is 10.5 million, and we are not retiring any debt in the upcoming fiscal years. And then you'll see, turning the page, that our debt service ratio remains well below our population group average. We are at 4%, and our population group benchmarks are about 8% of total expenses. However, I caution you, stay tuned for our debt model because we'll be needing some decisions about debt and financing for some of our much larger projects on the horizon. So we look forward to working with you through this plan. If you have any questions, happy to try to answer those now, or let me know in the coming weeks what additional information that we can provide to you. Any questions?
I have lots of questions, but I can't get them all out tonight.
Don't have to do them now.
Oh, my goodness.
Get it on, so.
Oh, my goodness.
There's a lot of information in there. We spend a lot of time sifting through project needs and coming up with a plan that we can accommodate them.
Well, thank you, finance and staff, for, I know that's a lot of work, a lot of numbers. Thank you.
That's all I have, Jim.
If there are questions, I can go. Right. Okay, and item number 10, EDC, Commissioner Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For a while, I've been concerned about the cohesiveness of our Economic Development Commission. And for the cohesiveness and the continuity of the Economic Development Commission, and for the best interest of the Economic Development Commission, I want to make a motion to remove Liz Brasher from the Economic Development Commission Board. That's my motion. I have no further comment.
Anyone, any other comments, discussion?
I would like to have some substantial reasons as to why.
No further comment.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm sorry, I can't make a decision without substantial information, so I think, no, whatever, I mean, I can't make a decision without good information.
Can I call the question?
Sure, mate. Okay, all in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Carries 3-2.
Excuse me, I still don't have a reason for this. And I'm not sure if the bylaws, didn't it say 4 out of 5 commissioners have to agree to it in the bylaws for the EDC if someone's to be removed? I'll have to go back and check the record. Brenda, would you look at that too? But I thought I read somewhere it had to be 4.
If they interject the bylaws and attend to the
You see, okay.
commission, not the board of commissioners. The board of commissioners actually would be regarding their.
I think this is absolute petty politics. Petty politics. You bring forth a motion to remove someone from a board and you have absolutely no reasons or evidence to provide to the public as such. Shame on you. Shame on you.
Next on the agenda is Chairman's report, and at this time I have no reports. Manager York,
Nothing at this time.
Vice Chair, Commissioner Perrier. No report.
No report.
No report. Sims. Mr. Thomas.
I need to bring up a topic. I was called today by a former resident of Person County. Her mother's at extended care over at the hospital. I don't know if this is the proper time, proper place. Do we have any authority But if you look under Person County, if you Google it, it shows no department heads to contact when you have a problem at this hospital. And so I don't know where we stand as far as getting them to implement a better website for the general public, for the concerns of their loved ones as they lay in the hospital, sick and dying. How do we proceed here?
Don't think we have any authority.
Is there anything we can do?
Are you talking about Person Memorial Hospital?
Ridge Road.
So the county does not have any authority over Person Memorial Hospital. They have their own board.
Do
I
we
know-
not provide them funds?
We do not provide any funding to the hospital.
Thank you.
I do know the director and have a good working relationship. If you'd like me to, we could talk after and we could,
If you please give me his information.
Make him
I'd
aware of
love
the
to have a talk
information.
with him.
okay, I'll
Thank
be
you.
happy to do that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gentry?
No?
Next on the agenda would be closed session. Motion to go into closed session. There are two, but there'll be, first one is a motion to enter into closed session per General Statute 1.3-318.7A4 for the purpose of discussion of matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations with the following individuals permitted to attend: County Manager Patty York, Clerk of the Board Brenda Reeves, Economic Development Director Sherry Wilborn, and our new county attorney I failed to recognize earlier, Ellis Hankins. We have a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are usually in closed session right now.